Welcome to another episode of Small Time Songwriter. My name's Angel Corsi, and I am, of course, your small time songwriter. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, you might notice that I still haven't fixed my video setup. I don't know what's going on. Who cares? It doesn't matter. This is a podcast. It's audio format anyway. But if you're watching on YouTube, you might notice I'm still on my webcam, which is fine. You know, whatever. It's not even that important. What's more important is my guest, Sarah Garlick. She goes by the artist name Euphoria, and she's a real mover and shaker kind of person, which I really appreciate. I love a DIY spirit, and I want to talk to her about it. DIY stands for do it yourself, obviously. You know, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to get the gig. We don't spend enough time trying to figure out how to make the gig. And that's what I wanted to talk to her about, and the community that she seems to be building or being part of in this really cool gallery space in Colorado Springs. She's kind of a new friend, or becoming a friend of mine, and hopefully we can definitely work together in the future, because she does a lot of hosting duties, and that's a hard job. So here's Sarah Garlick. Let's get to the interview. There we go. See, she was telling us.
I think it has to tell me. It's telling me something. I'm being recorded. I could leave if I wanted to. It's like, hey, are you aware of this?
Yeah, are you aware of this? Hey, so I just pressed the record button. For those of you listening, you did not hear half of the conversation we just had because I'm an idiot. But
at least we didn't get all the way to the end.
But we didn't get all the way to the end, which is good.
Magic.
So when I used to use Zoom, I used to use it for a lot of my consultations and like songwriting classes that I would teach. And I had like a membership, and in the membership, it automatically records. So I just always forget. I got to press the damn button, you know?
Oh, what a pain.
Yeah. So anyway, you were telling me about yourself. You were telling me about how you got into music. You said you're kind of dominantly like a vocalist kind of person. You didn't start off as a singer, but you basically just sang all the time until you got really good at singing.
Absolutely. It's just passion and drive, and really sticking to it that got me to where I am now, which is delightful. But yeah, I just always loved and had a passion for performance. And so I would perform all the way from elementary through high school, up to being in plays and just showcases of varieties of songs and in choir and all of the above. But so I do, act and dance as well, but primarily I do sing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, about the acting background that I kind of, kind of stalked my way through your social media to figure out you have a acting background. But in your acting background, do you use that in your performance style? Do you think you came up with a lot of, or you found a lot of tools in that, a lot of ways to pivot and use that as part of your stage performance?
I would say yes, absolutely. It comes through when you pay attention to, because I feel like within songs, a lot of times people don't necessarily think about, what's happening with your body or your face or anything of that sort. It's mostly just focused on the singing, which is also how to get that, the absolute most clarity that you're going to get from your voice. But I think it's also important to incorporate things with your body. People are watching you. So
yeah, exactly. Disconnect you from your audience.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it keeps people engaged for sure.
Yeah. So what are some ways that you use your acting background to benefit your music life, your songwriter life?
Yeah, well, I feel like every song, it's obviously a performance. But for me, I'm telling a story within my music and within the songs that I write. And so I feel like it's extremely important to channel the emotion through my eyes, through my face, through my body when I'm doing like blocking is what it's called. And I wouldn't have learned that if I hadn't have, gone through entire classes of theater, which is very, very useful. Yeah. It also helps with hosting because I do the open mic. I host an open mic at the Ultra Flat Black Gallery.
Yes. And we will talk about that. Good plug.
We're definitely Sure. We're definitely going to dive a little deeper into that. Hosting for certain, especially because I hadn't done anything acting specific within a good couple of years. It had been since I graduated high school at 17, and then here at 23, going into doing a hosting gig definitely made me brush up for certain.
Yeah. So you're 23 is that? Did I just hear that you're 23? Oh my God. I was such a bum when I was 23. I wasn't hosting community events and all that stuff. Jeez.
Yeah. don't do it, don't do it.
So
Or it'll
you're
malfunction.
so you're in so you're 23, and you're how did you come upon becoming like a mover and shaker DIY kind of person? Because that's the kind of thing that I think a lot of artists are missing, is that idea of sort of doing something yourself, like stepping up and
Okay.
trying to find the place and going to be a host somewhere, just try to give back to the community, but also, you're sort of elevating your name in the sense of like you're standing with the people beside you. You know what I mean? I think
Yes.
that's like a really cool approach to it, because a lot of people are just hunting for like, I want this gig, I want that gig, I want this gig, and you're
Mhm.
you're kind
Any
of just
gigs
going.
under the sun, but people will give you gigs. It's more so about cultivating the space that you're given, which I really appreciate. That I have a lot of creative freedom with the Ultra Flat Black Gallery. I feel like I lost the question somewhere in there.
It's
There
okay.
was a question.
No, it's coming. It's coming. I was just giving you a long setup so you can get comfortable and fix whatever's going on with you.
Oh,
Um,
thank you. I appreciate you for sure. For sure.
um,
Thank you.
but yeah, so my question was, how did you come upon the Ultra Flat Black Gallery, and how did you end up hosting, and
Mhm.
what is your experience there? What are you building out of that place?
Yeah. Okay. So I actually, one of the friends within my friend group actually stumbled upon the Ultra Flat Black Gallery. And then another friend of mine had actually spoken with them and got in with them and recommended me for that gig specifically, which I'm so appreciative of. And also, I think it's a good, I know a lot of the artists around town. Crazy enough, though, I didn't even know half of them.
Sure.
Only a small portion of artists that I associate with. Um, and then also through this experience, I've been able to meet so many people within my community that I never would have met. So that's been quite an opportunity for networking, for growth. Um, and then also more so just to, like we talked about, cultivate that space, that the setting the boundaries first and foremost right off the bat, but also by doing so, it's allowing people to be as they are and to come truly as themselves and to showcase what they have to offer. And more so, just I like to call it giving a glimpse into somebody's soul, and to
Right.
have the space, the safe space to share that is so humbling to be able to be a part of.
Right. So you take it very very deeply, very spiritually in a way. This community. What can you describe the scene there? What is the scene when you walk into that place? What are people to expect? And especially
Yeah.
during your shows that you're hosting, what am I like if I were to walk in tomorrow night or something? What would I expect to see and hear?
So, I mean, you'll see a variety of people. I like to call it the best variety show in Colorado Springs just because it's a free for all. I love that about open mic because I don't get to pick the set list. I don't get to pick what is happening. It's just kind of like a free for all. So you can have comics, poets, singers. We had a dancer at one point. We had a magician. We've had my friend brought his drum kit in. That was really cool. We got to play that together. So just an assortment of live entertainment as well as their galleries. So they showcase local artists and they switch them. They basically every first Friday of the month they'll do it, but sometimes occasionally they'll do like half months. And so that's also another opportunity for artists to be able to make sales to showcase their art. And then also we have a professional photographer taking your photo as you come in and grace the stage. And
Yeah,
so
good
that's just
photos,
getting
great
people
photos.
out there. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, that's Kenny Thompson, underscore Kenny Thompson underscore on Instagram. He's freaking amazing. And he doesn't just do stage photography, he does wildlife, he does an assortment of photography. And I'm lucky to have met him. I met him promoting for the open mic, and we talked about it, and it just fit, it just worked. And then he started coming on as our photographer, and that's one
Oh,
of the things that we have to, kind of broaden the appeal. We also have a
yeah.
DJ, which is pretty cool
That's
too.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool that you're just building like a do-it-yourself space. You're making a little venue out of a gallery, and you're just kind of embracing all the diversity and like variety of different acts and all that stuff. It's very has like a very bohemian kind of vibe as far the way you describe it. It's very much like you said, come as you are, and everyone's
Mhm.
gonna try to cheer you on if they can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and honestly, I think by creating that kind of space, to come as you are, that show us what you've got, and the non-judgmental aspect of it, it cultivates a space for growth, and that positive reinforcement is where I find, in a general sense, people tend to thrive.
Hmm.
And so, for me, I love getting to see the people who who come consistently every week. They get better and better and better and better,
Yeah,
and just getting to see new songs, new works, and trying out new material. I always encourage people to definitely do that as well.
yeah,
um yeah, it's just a great space, and
that's
it's
really
it's good
cool.
and vulnerable.
And this is in Colorado Springs, you said, right?
Yeah, it's downtown.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, back in my day, when we walked in the snow, but back in my day, open mics were a little bit of a community building, networking kind of space, but they were mostly the place to work on your material and see what the audience was reacting to and not reacting to. So it was a bit more like
Mhm.
cutthroat. It was a bit more, if you had a terrible set, you would not be on the lineup the next month or the next week, kind of thing.
Even if for open mic.
Yeah, but that
Open
every.
mic. Yeah.
Well, I just like I appreciate this kind of thing because there's a there's a balance to it because you have to like encourage people. But when is there? I guess what I'm wondering about your particular style of running this open mic is there like a ladder to climb? Do you end up doing the open mics and then you get to do a show there that's like based upon your material? Are you doing showcases at all, that kind of thing?
So yeah, so my event, the one that I run, is not the only event that they have. So essentially, basically, yeah, exactly what you said. So people come in, and if they are, there, it depends on if they would like to book a show. They also, have the opportunity to inquire. But there are certain people that I'm like, hey, let's get you something going,
Yeah,
because we
yeah,
want
yeah.
to feature you.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and so they have comedy on Friday nights, and then music on Saturday nights. And then they also do like vendor meetups and stuff like that. Just great place to like market and meet people within your community, people who are like-minded.
Yeah. So tell me about how you're using your community to advance whatever you're working on. Um,
Okay, yeah.
that kind of thing. So when we're artists, we hate to use the word networking, but we're kind of networking most of the time.
I
And
mean, you have to be. You're always meeting people, and
yeah,
more so networking, I feel like, has a negative connotation on it because of the way that some people do it.
right.
Um, when you are speaking just to be heard and not speaking to spark conversation or to inquire about somebody else, a lot of people look at people as numbers or follows on social media
Yeah.
or something like that. For me, I like to really, try and get to know the person, at least relate with some extent of what's going on. And then obviously, like, I'm doing cool stuff, so I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you about it because you're asking me then about my life.
Right.
By showing genuine interest in another person, they also show genuine interest in you. And that's not my only goal, but I think it's important to respect each other in that sense. And when we're getting to know each other in that public setting, um, yeah, I'm not just like, hey, here's my stuff and goodbye, and hopefully you
Yeah.
show up. It's
Yeah.
more like, hey,
Exactly.
I want you in this space that I've created.
Sure.
I think that you would be a great fit here, you
Yeah,
know.
that's great. I think that's really in the right alignment for things that I see are a bit more successful when it comes to trying to create a foundation for yourself as an artist. Like I think that networking for a lot of people, which I disagree with, is a lot of like, here's my business card, rather than I think you would be great for X, Y, and Z or whatever. There's just
Yeah.
a difference. One thing that I always try to tell people when they ask me about that sort of network conversation is I always say, like, I, I've been around different music scenes and they all kind of work in different ways, but the way that I've made things move in my favor and in a direction that I feel comfortable with and I feel like I'm being in service of is instead of climbing a ladder, I just think like there's always going to be someone like above you in the career, and there's always going to be someone below you in the career, and there's always going to be someone at your shoulder. So you hang out with the people at your shoulder and you help out with them as much as you can, and your job is to help out the people below you, and the persons above you are supposed to be helping you out, that kind of thing.
Doesn't always happen like that, but that is the ideal situation, right?
I think that's the ideal, but but you're right. I don't think that that's the natural order of things, but I do think that's kind of something we should all be striving for, which is what I see a lot in what you do, which is why I wanted to talk
and
to
I
you.
see it in you as well. That's cool. It's really cool to meet like-minded people who believe stuff like that, because I don't really necessarily see the point in being, there's the divas and all the people who put other people down in order to get where they are. And at that point, they don't have, at that point, when you do get to where you want to be, who do you have to share it with?
Sure.
Nobody, because you've pushed everybody out of your life and they know
Yeah,
that
you burned a lot of bridges. Yeah. You're right. I really think that you're when I observe what you're doing, and I'm just kind of like I sort of social media stalk everybody in that way, because I'm constantly like want to be.
I mean, you only have so much to work with.
I just like want to be plugged in all the time and make sure I'm keeping track of the people, and some of them, you kind of keep an eye on because you know that those are people you should probably be avoiding, and other people you keep an eye on so that you can say like, oh, when there's an opportunity to, do conversations like this, we can do them. You know what I mean? And I noticed that you're just an incredibly positive and motivational kind of person, which is really interesting because you're also very honest with how you feel about stuff. Because I've seen you post things on your social media that are, you're having kind of like a downer day or something, and you're trying to get through it. What was your process with all that? Like, why do you decide to share those kinds of sides of you? Are you naturally a positive person? Or are you like me, a naturally negative, grumpy person, and then you're constantly practicing kindness and trying to be motivational and be helpful to you?
Exactly that, Corsi. I would say, so the way that in certain aspects of the way that I was brought up, not my entire childhood or whatever, but there were certain aspects of my childhood to where I was taught to express myself in ways that were not beneficial to my health and my mental health and well-being. Sure. It was more anger and violent tendencies and frustration. I know you would never guess that from somebody like me. But
well, people say that about me all the time too. They're like, "You were a boxer? What's going on with that?" I'm like, yeah. But it's just a different time. It's interesting when you look back and you go like, "Who the hell was that person?" Because I'm so trying not to be that person now,
Well, yeah, I've made it a goal within my life to just treat people with kindness and to not hurt the people around me, because that's what I was doing for so long. And I think a part of that also comes with being honest, because I can't just be positive and nice and all this stuff all the time. Of course not. But that's why I let people know, hey, I'm having a bad day. I'm having a hard time. Please give me some grace. Or, just being honest with the way that you feel is very important, because if you don't, then you're not honoring yourself, and it causes resentment and buildup of just hatred. And I really don't feel like I want to build that stuff up, because I already have, certain things going through my head saying, oh, I feel really bad today, and that person didn't, heed to whatever I felt like they should have done. And instead of saying anything about it, it's more something that I try to filter for myself.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people, my default is to pretty much feel like everyone in the room hates me for some reason. So it's like a constant. I was talking to one of my good friends. He's also a songwriter, William Wallace, and he was, dealing with sobriety and things like that. And he said something that really resonated with me, which was, when you're in that mood, when you're in that space, and you're trying to be sober, and you're feeling depressed or angry or anxious or whatever. He's like, it's just kind of like playing a video game on hard, but you've never played the video game before. So you're just kind of waking up and everything is on hard, and you're not sure why or how to do the most basic things, I guess my question for you is like, You seem very authentic and honest when you're sharing those kinds of things. But what I guess what drives you to share those things on social media with your followers and all that? Do you feel a sense of responsibility or anything like that? Do you feel like you have a platform that you're supposed to be sharing on? Is it just something you don't think about at all and you just do it? Like what is the
I mean, essentially, yeah, I don't really think about it too much. More so, it's like I'll have a couple messages in my DMs or something like that, and I cannot physically respond or
ah
mentally even think to
yeah
do it like that. I know you had to see it that one time where I was like, "Hey guys, I really need to take a mental health night. Please
yeah
don't talk to me." But
yeah I didn't think about that, but yeah, your DMs are probably blowing up with like show stuff and other things and goofing around and all that.
people
And
trying to, have a conversation and stuff like that. But sometimes when you're in a state, and I deal with some mental and physical disabilities as well, and so when I'm in a kind of a certain state, there are things that I just cannot even process. Even a hey, how are you?
yeah
Just like can't even look at my phone. But I don't want you to feel like I'm saying hey, f you. I'm
yeah
just saying hey, I just need to take a personal night.
yeah
And so but if somebody has to reach you, and there are a lot of people, if they need to know show details and things like that, and they want to know on, their schedule, they're texting me and they're saying, "Hey, what's up?" Um, I'll have read the message or, something of that sort. And I just don't want to come off in the sense that I'm like, hey, I'm ignoring you or I don't care about your message. I just need some space. And
yeah
it's really important to like advocate for myself in that sense, because if I don't, then people form like misconceptions and misunderstandings. And that's just leads to not a lot of fun stuff. I'd rather just
yeah so
stay
it's
out of it.
yeah it's
And
kind
it's
of
not
the
really, it's not for anybody else. It's kind of just for me and my own
well, I
safety.
mean, I think that's true, but I also think that it's kind of your responsibility as a public person because you're kind of an in between for the shows that are happening and the events that are happening, and you
Mhm.
should be you don't have to like personally tell everybody I'm having a bad day. You know what I mean? So I could see why it makes sense for you to just kind of like throw up a post and be like, gonna be taking a break. And
Yeah.
and I'm
But
kind
it
of
does also, I'm so sorry.
no, go ahead.
It does also, like you were saying, though, it does also benefit towards the authenticity that I do go for and the way that I do live my life. So, I mean, it's just another post from Sarah, but it absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what would you say to other people that are, other artists that are dealing with sort of mental health obstacles that are, because like for me, I'm doing this interview with you, but normally I don't work during April. It's a hard month for me, so I just take
Yeah,
everything off of my table and I just stay home and cook and play with my dogs and play Mario or something.
that's
And
good. That's great.
but it's kind of like a self-awareness thing.
Mhm.
But my question to you is more
Making
like,
space, which is cool.
yeah, you make space. There you go. That's good.
For you to be
Um,
able to process. I didn't do that. I don't like to do that, even though it's
yeah,
really good for you and
yeah,
probably I should do that. Um, I actually went through something very hard recently, and instead of giving myself time to process and space, I just was like, oh, well, now I have all this time to do a million things
yeah,
and
yeah,
put
yeah.
way too much on my plate just because I don't know, that's something that I tend to do. It's awareness that I have of
Yeah.
myself
So what would you say to the artist that doesn't have that awareness yet? That is sort of like feeling the
to take
burnout
time off.
happen?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That time off is extremely important. That even though you're not doing anything, by not doing something, you're taking care of yourself. Or you can do something that's chill to take care of yourself. There are so many ways. For me, the thing that I find very helpful is I like to take baths. I like to do the Epsom salts, the candles. I read a book. It's my me time. It's
Right.
where I just decompress,
Sure.
which is extremely important. And I'm a very social butterfly.
You seem
And I
very
like,
extroverted. Yeah.
absolutely. But I'm learning to honor and respect the part of myself that also just sometimes really needs to be away and to be by myself.
Yeah. That's great.
Um, but to those people, even though, so right now from where I'm at, and I'm saying I love to do all these things, it's an everyday thing. It's an everyday reminder. I look at the calendar and I see a blank space and I
Right.
think, oh, I'm not busy on Friday. Yes, I'm busy on Friday.
Right.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
busy on Friday.
Yeah.
I need to help myself. And so I think
Right.
just keep it in mind. Just remind yourself to help yourself and
That's
maybe even just schedule out time
Yeah,
for
that's
yourself.
great advice because I know a lot of us, especially as artists, you're trying to make your way through navigating whatever it is you're chasing. We're all chasing different
Mhm.
things, and as you're doing that, it's really easy to just continue to fill that calendar. Like just, oh,
Mhm.
there's an empty day. I should probably be doing something. I should be planning a meal, or I
Networking or
should be
going out to the
networking, or
show
yeah,
or
yeah.
that's hard.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to press the pause button. Um,
Yeah. Well, I've had to miss. I wanted to go to my friend. He's in a band called Noise Resort. I don't know if you could see it. Noise Resort. Um,
okay, good.
and I wanted to go to their show on the first actually, but I had a whole week of booked up things that I was doing, and so I really, really, really needed to take some time and rest that day, and then also had something else I had to do that day. So it would have been a double booked day. It would have been really, really, really hard on my mind and my body. And so at that point, it was a setting the boundary with the self, which is really hard to do. And I said, unfortunately, I cannot go to this show, even though it's people that I want to see so bad, so badly. But
Right.
they'll have other shows, there will be other opportunities, and I can't get every single one. Can't do it.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. You just can't do everything. That's how I feel sometimes too, especially when you're doing community stuff. It's even harder because you have a
I want to support my
responsibility.
friends.
Yeah, you have a responsibility, but it's like this weird thing of like community is being responsible for a large group of strangers, and then as a person, you're responsible for the small friend group you have. So you have this balance that you have to constantly fight with. Do I go to the show or should I just take a rest day because I just finished hosting this open mic and I'm wiped out from all the stress of it?
Mhm.
You know.
Cool
Okay,
beans.
so all right, let's do this before those things die again.
Yeah, right.
I love I'm enjoying your chaos. You have a little bit of chaos in you. That's good.
Is an understatement.
All right, let's finish this bad boy up. All right, Sarah. So we took a quick break because me and you can't get over our technical difficulties between me forgetting to press record and your battery dying on your earbuds there. But we're back in it. We're back together here, and I wanted to talk to you about your band. Before I talk to you about your band, Feudal Position is the name of the band. Great band name. Very good. Need to figure out how you came up with that one.
It
And
was actually a joke.
it was a joke.
Yeah, well, we'd spent months and months. So, okay, the way that I'll tell you about how we got together and stuff too, but basically we'd had all this material. We'd had multiple songs written. We'd been a formed band. We'd even done performances, and we didn't have a name. We went one time as the Dead Branches.
The Dead Branches. That's good.
Super silly. And it felt silly on stage saying it because it just didn't fit us. And so for quite some time, we just had all this material, had everything except for the band name. And so one day we were all just like fighting about it. And our drummer Timon, he said feudal position. And I can't remember, like we all were like, oh, whatever, just put it right. And we did a draw basically. We each picked five names, five of our favorite band names that we wanted it to be out of
Right.
this huge list. And it just so happened that the only one that all of us picked was feudal position. And it was a
Ah,
joke.
yeah, 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 yeah. But it
Yeah.
works. It works. It works. That's great. I love hearing about band names because I've been doing the music thing for a long time, so I've had some band names and they're all pretty terrible. And you just kind of you, you realize that the band name doesn't matter as much as whether it feels right with the band.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's kind of the thing. So how did you guys meet? This is just your friend group, right? Speaking of networking and friendships and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, this is how it started. I didn't even want to be in a band. I never had even thought about being in a
Yeah,
band.
fuck these people.
Um,
I didn't even want to.
it was not, it was more so I just never even thought about exploring that avenue until somebody from my work had approached me and said, "Hey, like I want to start a band and I want you to be our vocalist." And I was like, "Okay, well, what's the genre?" And we kind of hashed a couple of things out. And it was very loose, very loosely planned.
Sure.
Um, and so we were looking for a drummer. And so I went to one of the local open mics and made a couple of friends and had said that I needed a drummer. I was looking for a drummer. And this guy, whom of which he knew my sister, so he knew my last name, Garlic.
Sure. Right.
And his name is Timon Perez, and he is a really rad guy. He was kind of like, well, I know how to drum,
Sure.
because the other drummer was so booked out. There was this guy playing the drums there, and I was like, I want him. And he's like, I have 3 bands. Please, no, thank you. I'm all good. And yeah, and so then it didn't end up working out with the guy who initially introduced the band or the idea of the band. And so it was kind of me and Timon for a while.
Oh,
we
okay.
did we did some of my music. I was playing the guitar and singing, and he was drumming. And then at the same time, I had met my friend Jake Massey. We met at another local open mic at Jive's Coffee Lounge, and he was pretty cool. We played together a couple of times, hung out a couple of times, um, and we started writing music together. Me and him started writing songs, and it just kind of came into this convergence where where Jake started coming to the band practices that Timon and I were having. And then once Jake kind of consistently came for about a month, I was like, hey, so
So
what's
it's just,
happening
yeah,
here?
you're like, we got a clinger. We got a clinger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
good.
And then after that, we also got our bassist, and we're a fully formed band. But I'm just so, so, so lucky to be performing with incredibly talented individuals
Well,
and
let's
people that I got to meet through my community.
Yeah, let's talk about the kind of music that Fetal Position makes, because you have a bit of like you have a very like we call it like a pure tone, or a clear tone kind of voice. It's very almost theatrical in a way. It's very operatic in a way. It's got a lot of
Yeah.
like little tinges of some, like a kid that definitely did theater but also wants to rock. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that edge, that edge. I've always had that edge for some reason.
yeah, but the music itself is it's a little more, what would you say, like, is it like prog rock or like a little more punk rock kind of vibe? It's
Yeah, it's really hard to pin us down, I
yeah,
would say. I have a hard time. So it's somewhere within that genre, but the hard part is we have multiple different tones to multiple different songs. So I guess it just really depends on what you're hearing, because
yeah,
we've sourced a couple of songs of original Jake Massey songs and then turned them into band songs where I've got a part and he's got a part and all that
sure.
stuff. We've written songs together. We do a couple of my songs. So it's kind of a free for all, and it gives us a lot of room to be able to work with, just to really be ourselves and enjoy ourselves.
And what do you guys like to write about? What does Sarah Garlick write about?
Okay, Sarah Garlic specifically, we're
Yeah,
talking about Sarah Garlic
yeah,
songs.
yeah.
Sarah Garlic songs are extremely raw, very, very just like I like to tell stories, and the way that I wrote my first song, and that I try to write my songs, well, it's really the only process that I have known. I've been kind of able to, as I'm writing more songs, to explore other writing processes, to maybe write a little bit more about like metaphorical things versus my songs. I always take a problem that I'm having, and by the end of it, I found some form of solution or a way
Sure.
to help myself feel at peace with it.
Right.
Yeah, so it's very, very real and raw and emotional, and
Yeah.
it tells a lot of my music just tells my story.
Okay. And do you take
And
that to the band, or does the band go, no, 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 that's for hosting? All right, we want to sing about bats. You know what I mean? Like, or
um, no, so basically, I'm sorry, your bat thing got me really good. That was awesome. So essentially, we do have a couple of songs that I just kind of took over and wrote the narrative that I felt in my heart for that song, and it is very real still. But there are also aspects where, we have a song that's about like being spies and stuff like
nice.
that.
Okay, right.
Yeah, 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 just
All
a
right,
little
so
bit.
So there is a possibility of a bat song in the future then, because you're right
I
about
mean,
being spies.
maybe.
Well,
We'll
okay,
do a Halloween song.
yeah, a Halloween song. There you go. Yeah, so I just think that it's really cool. You seem like just someone that's really enjoying the process. So I guess my question that I'm wondering about is regarding the band and regarding you. What are the goals for the rest of the year and next year? Like, what are you guys chasing? Because we're all sort of, as artists, we're all chasing different things. You know, like I'm chasing
Yeah.
community building in my area, and I'm chasing just getting established as a folk singer around here in Colorado because I just moved out here. So it's just I have like a
Sure.
general goal and something that I'm
And
chasing.
then you're also going into touring and stuff next year, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's just like things
That's
like that. But the
great.
touring thing's more familiar for me. It's more of just trying to establish my main goal is like how do I get Colorado to like me and what I'm doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
so I'm wondering what is the plan for Sarah and feudal position?
Okay, so Sarah, in a general sense, um, keep going with the open mic. The open mic's been going really, really well. So that's going to be all throughout the summer. If not after that, I've only got a couple months really planned out right now.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going as I go because all this is happening so fast. It's the year is flying by extremely fast. And so it's only been a couple months since I've just kind of started throwing myself into all of these avenues that I didn't even know I could explore.
Yeah.
Um, so not limiting myself in a lot of aspects anymore. It's been nice too because my work schedule has freed myself up to be able to do so many things. So we're going to be performing at least for April. I have so many performances myself.
Mhm.
I've got a couple of feudal position performances as well. We've got one this month as well as next month, and then we're also talking about doing a Vultures show as well, which is a local venue around here that a good couple of bands have played at. So just little milestones like that. There's the
Yeah.
Vultures, there's the Black Sheep. Progressively getting to bigger venues. We actually did play in Denver recently, so that was a
Cool.
milestone
Yeah.
that we hit. I'm not sure. I'll have to talk with the boys as to what our goals
Yeah,
are
that's good.
collectively because I can't necessarily speak for everybody in that sense.
Right.
I have my ideas, want to be touring, I want to be doing all sorts of stuff, but that's the hard part is getting all four people's lives to coincide with each other.
That's always the hardest part about having a band. It's tough enough to get practice to work on a certain time, let alone play together. Um, yeah, I really like your perspective on this. I really like your energy on it because I've been in the game for a long time, so I've been doing a lot of stuff for a long time, and I
Mhm.
kind of forgot like a part of me has somewhat forgotten the joy of going with the flow when it comes
Mm.
to the music career choices and all that. I love hearing people like you that are just kind of exploring whatever comes in front of you and it's like you said, small milestones and things like
Mhm.
that you just can really, I feel like over time, I've become a little more, um, hyper focused on certain things and things I need to accomplish in a certain time or a certain
Mm.
direction. And it's good. It's not a bad thing, but I think it's important to remind, especially listeners, that there's not one path or one direction to take on this stuff. And sometimes you just have to like enjoy the wins and the happiness of creating music with your friends. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Which I think
Mhm.
is really cool. So I guess.
The
Oh, go ahead. You're gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say there is the hard aspect to it, especially being so scheduled because I was working like 65-hour weeks at one point.
Wow.
And then I got really sick and realized that I can't book myself that much. I need to schedule time for rest, like we talked about earlier. Shoot, ADHD sucks. I had a place I was going with that.
All right, you can make it. You can make it. Try to find it.
Bring me back, Percy. Where were we? What were we talking about?
Well, I guess it's a good pivot. It's a good pivot time. How do you balance work and your artist life? I'm always fascinated with how people do that because it's not easy.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. So this is what I was going to say originally. Um,
This is what I was. This was what I was actually going to say. The other person talking, I don't know who that was.
right. It's just like it pushes me. It pushes the thought right out of my brain. But scheduling my time so strict and being so strict about it for me was actually ended up being more of a block, because I would feel like making this beautiful song on piano, or I'm not a pianist or anything like
Yeah.
that. I'm just kind of learning. I've made one song and I don't even know what I'm playing, so
Yeah.
there's my disclaimer.
Yeah.
But making something beautiful or meaningful, like extremely meaningful to me or something of that sort, I'll be feeling this emotion, but then doing something else, yes, creatively, but it's not what I'm feeling in that moment. And I don't really have the space to be able to do that and to be
Sure.
able to create in that moment what I want to be doing. Work life balance is very hard. It's a struggle. It's something I have to remind myself of every day. And now that I know that I have the awareness that I tend to overschedule myself, I kind of counteract that with an awareness that I need to take care of myself.
Right.
Um, yeah, and so more so just it's really hard to say no. It's extremely hard to say no, but sometimes you just really have to, because there's no possible way for me to do this. Yeah.
I feel like that's an ongoing theme of our conversation today is whoever's listening, just learn to say no, carve out space for yourself, and make sure
Yeah.
that you have these little pockets that you build for your art and for your, your love life and for your professional life, that kind of thing. I feel like
Mhm.
you're really putting a spotlight on, um, being honest about what you can and can't do and what you feel you have the energy for, and how to find happiness in your art because like we put such a timeline on things all the time. It's like we got to
Mhm.
the tour's got to happen next year, or we have to be famous by this time or whatever, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
there's a really beautiful quality about people like you that can just kind of say, it takes practice, but I need to spend some time not doing stuff and not
For sure.
going to the band practice and not doing
Mhm.
the gig, or going to the show just to see my friends, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I think
And
it's
finding your balance in between that too, because for me, it's also really important to have certain deadlines, because if I don't, then I won't get anything done. So for me,
yeah,
it's like that little fire under my ass to get
yeah,
me going.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but not also to pressure myself to get the perfect thing, or to get it done when, yeah, just listening to the self, and making sure that first and foremost you're always taking care of yourself, versus slaving away for the art, because then at that point it's not really art anymore. It's not the self-expression that you're trying to tap into. It's desperation.
Right. That's beautiful. Yeah, it's a great way to say that. Okay, well, my last question for you, I think is a
Sure.
perfect segue for it, is what drives you? What's driving you to want to share your songs and write your songs and give art to people and make art and do these shows, these community buildings? Like, what's driving you to do all this stuff? What's the thing that's getting you to wake up and get up in the morning? And I see you on Instagram, you're always lifting heavy shit. So, like, what's driving you to go to the gym and be a bodybuilder and then go to the show and write the song and all that?
Mhm.
What's driving you?
Well, getting up and lifting heavy things and going to the gym, and um for me personally, it's to be in tune with my body, because I said I have something called EDS, and it's basically where I have looser joints and muscles, but also sometimes it pulls my bones out of place, like my
Wow.
muscles get really tight and stuff like that. Yeah, so for me, it's an awareness of the body as to what's going on. So like I
Wait,
haven't been to
can
the
you,
gym in a week because I hurt myself.
that's
um
can you tell me more about this? I've never heard about this.
well, here's my deal. I can't necessarily tell you everything about it in
Sure.
specific detail, because for me, I have a harder time understanding the technological aspects of it
Sure. Yeah.
versus the way that it affects my body and
Yeah.
how I can learn to live. So my mom was a massage therapist. She taught me. I know how to massage as well through that, because I have touch sensitivity. I was feeling what she would do on me, and now I can do it to other people, which is really cool, which has given me an awareness of the body.
Hmm.
And then also I can then help myself in certain aspects as to knowing, like stretching, keeping things in check and in tune. But then also, like last Friday, I hurt my back somehow. Actually not somehow, ha ha ha. I just didn't take care of myself.
Right.
I've been doing work to maintain myself. Therefore, my body's gonna start crapping out on me. So
Sure.
that balance as well, the reminding to not only just rest but to stretch and to really try and help myself function to the best of my ability, because then if I can't, then I can't do all the amazing things that I try to do on the daily. Not gonna happen. But
Yeah, I'm starting to see a picture here developing your need for space and rest and all that stuff. It's sort of all coming together on why, you have these mental things that you're going through. And I would imagine if you were a person, if I were a person that had a body that I wasn't able to quite trust all the time,
mhm,
it would probably start
mhm,
messing with my head quite a bit, and then I would
for
start
sure.
having uncomfortable days because I wouldn't know what was true and what
That's
wasn't.
why I was like, sometimes the only thing I have is to show up.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's all I have. And
yeah,
I'm sorry I can't give you more. I wish that I could, and I wish for myself that I could. But I've been learning to look at those kind of days and those kind of weeks as, and sometimes months, I don't know how long I'm going to be hurting for, but basically, I mean, it kind of goes in and out. It fluctuates.
yeah,
Sometimes it's the ebbs and flows of life. And so, I've been learning to look at it instead of getting frustrated, although I still do. I try to remind myself that it's important to take downtime. It's important to rest and to honor myself throughout this time as well. And that I'm already down. I might as well enjoy it.
yeah.
Might as well enjoy myself.
That's
There's
good.
no use in just like being angry all the
Yeah,
time.
I need to learn
Yeah.
that a little bit more. I need to get a little bit better at that.
Yeah, well, and it's not something that goes away. It's
Yeah,
something that we have to live with every single day. It's something that my brain will wake up in the morning and it says life is shit, but that's a lie. And I know that. And so actively I have to sit there and correct it.
yeah,
And even though that's really hard to do that mental work, I like to say, and about therapy especially, it's really hard, but it's so fulfilling.
yeah.
Living the life that you want to live.
Yeah, there's a lot of gratitude in your voice and the things that you say and things it seems like you have a lot of gratitude towards the art that you make also and
Yeah.
able to connect with people.
It's
That's
all
really cool.
incorporated. Yeah, and I think you were saying what drives me earlier, the
Yeah,
human connection, just being able to connect with people and to relate with people. And that's why I write my songs and that's why I tell my stories, because there have been moments in life where I have felt so alone, and I just, never thought to make a phone call when I was feeling, sorry, trigger warning, suicidal, because I thought nobody would care,
yeah,
because I thought nobody wanted to hear what I had to say.
sure.
When in reality, somebody halfway across the world is feeling exactly the same way as I am and would be my phone call and would,
That's
things
kind
like
of
that.
Yeah, that's kind of the proof of the song. It's you write this song and you wonder if anybody else feels that way, and then you sing the song and you
Mhm.
realize how many people do.
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
had my first experience with that actually
tell me about it.
a couple weeks ago.
Tell me about
Um, So basically, I have a song, it's called Pushover, and it's essentially me taking my power back in the situation, because I was put in many situations and raised in situations where submitting was the safest possible option.
Sure.
But growing up, I'm not in those situations anymore. I have the power to say no. I can say no. And that's absolutely what I'm going to do, because I'm not your little pushover anymore. And that's what I say in that song. And I was performing, I was doing a showcase at the Ultra Flat Black Gallery actually. And there was one girl there. And by the end of that song, she was crying. And I just felt that instant connection of somebody knows what I'm going through. Somebody is feeling that we are liberated, that we are better than this, that we are not what we were put into, that we are what we make of ourselves.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So that's what drives you, the connection.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being on this podcast of mine. It's a very baby podcast, but it's one of my friends, Shawnee, she said it in the perfect way. She said, it's a little podcast, but with a capital L. So thank you for
And big hearts, big hearts. You are awesome, Corsi. Thank you so much for having me today. And you're a tremendous host and just a great presence. And it's been great relating with you today.
Oh, great. Good. I hope we can chat more, and I'm sure we will continue to do so. And, I'll give you high fives when you're lifting heavy shit because you're always lifting
Hey,
heavy shit. And, I can't wait for you to, are you releasing any music this year? Or do you guys, I saw you guys were recording and all that.
yes, 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 yes. So we don't have an official date. We're kind of pinning it. This is officially unofficial.
This is officially
But
unofficial.
well, we actually were just talking about it in our group chat today. We're probably, if our drummer says yes, and other than that, everybody's confirmed for it, but it's going to be May 20th that we are dropping our first single. It's called Your
Awesome.
Lovin'.
Awesome. Okay.
Super excited for that
Super
one.
cool.
And then yeah, I don't know. I'm planning on doing some of my own stuff this year as well, but
You're gonna be
little
recording
things.
solo stuff?
Yeah, I think so.
That's great. That's awesome. Okay, congratulations. So
Yeah.
before we go, why don't you give us just a little parting words, a little soft advice for the fellow 23-year-old who probably wants to sing and perform for people and write their songs, but they're a little bit nervous. What would you say to them?
Okay. So I would say that something I have been feeling or have felt before would be I was mad at myself because after a certain point in my life, I lost sight of my priorities after high school. I just went on, I let the things that were the most important to me go. And something I never thought I would ever lose in my life was music. And once I lost that, it was a big wake up call. And I started to get back into it, but for a while I tortured myself. And I tortured myself because I'd wasted so much time. But I then realized that the longer that I'd spent crying over wasted time is more time wasted. So
Right.
just utilize it. You know what you have to do. Take the baby steps to get there. Set smaller goals in order to fit bigger goals. And honestly, just do something now. I kind of tend to focus on, instead of getting so overwhelmed with all the things that I have to do, I like to think about what I can do in this moment to help me succeed.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. It sounds like you're working on having a good head on your shoulders, so that's really cool. And
Yeah, yeah.
it's really good. It's really good to see a 23-year-old be the way you are. You look like you're doing a lot of the good work, as we would say, the good work. Um,
Thank you, Angel.
yeah. So I look forward to talking to you again, and thank you for being on the podcast. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You're awesome, Angel. Enjoy your
Yes.
night.
All right. You too. Bye bye.